Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Blue Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Lieutenant Joe Pangaro. So, I want to thank our sponsors first when we start here because we wouldn't have our program if we didn't have our sponsors. So, you can see over here, Blue 360 Magazine. Got that wrong. Blue360media.com. Blue360media.com. They are my publisher. They publish my books, you can see over here, but they publish excellent material for all of law enforcement and for legal people. So if you need anything in the law enforcement world, as far as training, learning, reading, you go to blue360media.com and they'll take care of you. My other sponsor is medicalessentialdiagnostics.com. They are a New Jersey centered group. Basically, they have 5 clinics throughout the state of New Jersey. Any New Jersey state worker, county worker, local worker, municipal, anyone who works for anybody in government in New Jersey can go to any one of their clinics and get a soup to nuts medical evaluation that day when you show up. They do it all in 3 or 4 hours, and you find out if there's anything wrong, and then you can save yourself. So you can live through your working years and then enjoy your pension. Medicalessentialdiagnostics.com. And you can bring 2 adult family members with you, right? So everybody gets checked out. So stay healthy and enjoy your life. Now, with that, the gentleman I'm sitting here with, I've spoken to Dr. Robert Rail in the past. He is a brilliant individual with an unbelievable background, and I'm going to let him tell you about his background. But one of the things that caught my attention and made me reach out to Dr. Rail was that he wrote this article recently called Black Swan. And I said, well, what's this? If it came from Dr. Rail, it's got to be something interesting. And I started to read it. And basically, a black swan is a word to describe a situation, right? So basically, it's something, a black swan is something that's unknown, unpredictable, and can happen anywhere, right? So if an incident happens, say you're driving your patrol car and out of nowhere comes an airplane landing on the highway in front of you and you crash, right? That's a black swan. You couldn't predict that. You couldn't know that was going to happen. And it can occur at any time. So in law enforcement, every call we go on is really a black swan. So that's why I wanted to bring Dr. Rail on and talk about this a little bit, see how it can help you when you're out there doing your work. So Dr. Rail, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate having you here. We like to have people who know what they're talking about and are great at things. So, Doc, could you give our audience out here an understanding of who you are, what your background is, what do you do, so that they could be as amazed as I was when I first met you?
Well, thank you. I'll be as brief as possible. I got into a lot of, I'm classically the dog that climbed up in the tree and didn't know dogs can't climb trees. So I'm a retired police officer out of the Chicago area. I ended up going with the American Contingent Forces in Bosnia for war crimes, then for a year, and then I spent a couple of years in Kosovo with just a hell of a situation with the war zone in Kosovo, and it afforded me the chance to travel as a trainer and tester and investigator and everything else as police with the United Nations Police. So I trained about 60 countries, anywhere from Russia to Ukraine to everywhere else. And then I ended up after that, I spent a year to decompress in Iraq. That's a joke, but I was with some wonderful people in Iraq too. I was with some great internationals in Bosnia and Kosovo, but we were all police. We were all police. We all took an oath to our countries. And in Iraq, of course, I was with American Contingent Forces. These are some great young people. I'm an old guy, so everybody looks like they're 14 to me, but they were just, I was with Marines and Rangers and everybody else, and very impressive people, wonderful people. They were there to take an oath, and they were there to fight and save and survive.
That's absolutely amazing. So it's an amazing career, and you have your PhD, so that's why I'm calling you Dr. Robert Rail. Obviously, between education and experience, law enforcement and going over to these foreign countries to act as law enforcement has given you some great insight. So I know that you have a lot of things out there you've written, We did a couple of programs that I'm going to have to re-up, talking about body movements and all that kind of stuff. Just amazing. But let's get to the Black Swan. All right. So the article, tell us a little bit about the article. What got you to write this article, and what's your point of the article?
The article is that Joe, our brothers and sisters in uniform, their life, the police work in the United States, it's over. It's done. It's changed. We're moving from law enforcement in the communities to a gray area where we're actually thrown into a military tactical circumstance, which can happen at any time, anywhere, in any way, with the thousands and thousands of extremely vicious, subversive people that I dealt with overseas in the war zones. They're here now. They've come in. There's been a pathetic, disgusting situation with our border, and there's no excuse for it. We hear games, but the burden falls on the people who take the oath. These are the people who, they protect us. They cover our lives 24/7, and they're being treated horribly by the government, by the leadership of the government, and we have to really stand up and protect them. And that's where I connected with the fantastic people of Combat Stress magazine. They're there for the situation of suicide, which is rampant with people who have taken the oath to protect others, and then they lose their life because of what happens to them. As far as the Black Swan, anything, anywhere, anytime, and there's no predicting it, because we have so many people now in our country that have invaded our country, and we're at a loss for our safety. We're at a loss for the safety of our communities that we guard with our blood and our lives.
I guess if we look at that for a second, obviously we've had this unprecedented amount of people coming into the country illegally. And now I know, and because believe me, there's people that sit in their basements and they take notes about everything that people say when you talk about stuff like this. I recognize clearly that the majority of those people who come here, they just come here because they want a better life. They live impoverished. They're not necessarily afraid for their lives like they say they are. Some of them are. And most of them are good and decent people who just want a better life for their family. And I don't blame them for wanting to come to a place that's better. But we do have a huge contingent of people that we know. They've released people out of mental asylums. They released people out of their prisons. They've taken the problems that they have in their country and said, hey, go to America. You can get out of jail and go. And we have those people here now. So while we do have good people that are coming, we also have some very, very dangerous people. The Venezuelan gangs are in New York are overwhelming things that are going on there. We saw the officers that were beat up in New York City attacked. And then we see the weak policies of some of these prosecutors that basically let these people go. And then because of outcry, they had to go find them and they left the state and they went other places. So we have known terrorists that are on the watch list that are brought in and they were just released into the country. So we have all of this negative element that's out there that, number one, could commit regular crime that could affect law enforcement, or people who may be plotting something like a 9/11 that we're all going to suffer. So your point being is that with this element now in the country, the problematic people, not the good people who want to come for a better life, but the problematic, dangerous people that are here, the Black Swan effect is we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know how they're going to attack somebody. We don't know when it's going to happen. Is that the idea? Do I got that right?
I think you hit that right on the head. There's two factors let me address. One is the uncertainty of these extremist groups. We've got them coming in from communist China, and that could team up to have them hit us in our water supplies, our food supplies. It could schedule tankers that are going on our highways every day and railroad cars that are going with every day with areas that they could explode and take out a town. Literally, we know how
Right,
devastating a train wreck can be.
right. We saw
Well,
that last year, right, in Ohio.
the big weakness with a train is that you know where the train travels. It travels on tracks. You can predict, you can plan, you can isolate, you can detonate. And this is what we dealt with in the war zones. That was it. The railroads just didn't exist anymore. They were shut down. They were
Oh,
destroyed. On the other side of the coin, you know, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with people in public office. The one thing they want to do is just be elected. They don't care how much bloodshed, they just want votes. These people don't know the difference from DEI to IED. They are so, pardon me, damn dumb when it comes to violence. It's unbelievable. I was watching TV just the other day, and I saw a federal agent trying to do a disassemble on a weapon, and I thought, what is this person doing?
yes,
And
I saw that too.
what, you know, they shouldn't be there.
But
Uh,
they're the ones calling the shots. And it's the men
and
and women out in the street that have to deal with the results of whatever the political backgrounds are here, that people are, that we're letting so many people in the country unvetted. We just found out last week that they've flown 350,000 people in so that they didn't have to include them in the count of what's coming across the borders. So 350,000 people, we don't know who they are. They just flew them into the communities, and our officers have to go out there and deal with it. And it's one thing you're dealing with, mom and dad and a couple of kids who want a job. They want to live in America. They want to have education. I get it. I get it. We also have to deal with the people like the Venezuelan gangs who come in that are going to set up new drug rings. We have fentanyl pouring over the border, killing almost 100,000 young Americans, well, people of all ages, every single year. And our cops have to deal with it. Cops now, everything you touch might have fentanyl on it.
yes,
We know that there's a recruitment problem. Now it's funny. I had a fellow on from Texas recently, and basically, and he said, in Texas we don't have the same problem because we live by the rule of law, we enforce the law, we respect law enforcement, and we double funded law enforcement. So in Texas they don't have the same problems as we do in other parts of the country. That these men and women get up every day, put on a uniform, go out in the street to try and do the right thing, and they could be targeted for any reason. They can be attacked. We've seen that. We've seen that poor young lady, Laken Riley, just going out for a jog at her college, and she was beaten to death, uh,
yes.
all by people who didn't come here properly. And if we vetted them out, we would have found out this guy has been arrested before. He's dangerous. Uh, but what's he doing hanging around? Why is he here? Why do we allow that? And then our cops have to deal with that. So I guess the question I have for you, Doctor, is if we understand now what a Black Swan event is, it's unpredictable, unplanned, and it can occur anytime. What advice would you give law enforcement, the officers out there in the street, the cops, the detectives, the supervisors that are out there doing their work? If a Black Swan event starts to take place, is there something they could have done to prepare sooner? Is it a mindset? Is it observations? What advice would you give them to be prepared for a Black Swan event?
Well, what I did in a couple of cases was we discussed, we go in as a team, and I'd lead a team in to explain to a municipality that this is what can happen to your town. Terrorists can take over your town in 5 minutes. One is if you have a railroad going through your town, they will take a tanker. They'll hijack a tanker and they'll put it in underneath the railroad viaduct, and they'll detonate it out. That'll separate the town because now nobody can go either way because the railroad splits the town in half. Then they'll get responding officers. Joe, we're going over a tremendous amount of material, and I'll do it quick, but you get a bomb blast, you get something going off there. Remember, they're secondary bombs, and the bomb is to gather up all of the wonderful men and women together in one place so these animals can detonate another bomb and get them.
Right.
So everything can chain link, and it chain links over and over. And that's the Black Swan. It's unpredictable. You don't know. They will take a small child. I don't mean to be too gross here, but they'll take a small child and they'll gut him and they'll put a bomb inside him and he'll still be alive or she'll still be alive. They'll have him on the pavement in the middle of an intersection, just waiting for a car to get out there to try and save their life and detonate them. They'll do things that you never dreamed of in your life that would happen on your beat as you're driving your squad around your town that you've been patrolling for 20 years. All of a sudden, things are going to happen and you're going to see things and you're going to hear and smell things you've never seen before. What you want to do is stop, breathe, look around you, communicate, but be very, very careful of everything and everyone.
You know, I think the takeaway,
including people coming to help you wearing a white smock or a white coat or driving something that may look like an ambulance. You can't trust anyone. You have to, the whole thing is we've let such a massive number of people over the border and they're criminals, they're terrorists, they're animals, but that doesn't mean they're stupid. They are cunning, they are smart, they are vicious, and we are going to have to just literally step up almost into a military stage to handle this like a war zone overseas. That war zone, I'm sorry, it's here now. And we have our police, our wonderful police and military, they've been stabbed in the back twice. Once they've been stabbed is for their oath and their safety. They've been hurt. They've been disparaged. It's horrible. But the other one is all now they're being threatened if they do anything. Their qualified immunity, their situations there. This is horrendous. We need to back our police. And the thing is, we need to get all these judges and DAs, either get them out or get them on the side or straighten out their mind. They are facilitating, they are enabling the misery that's coming and we've already got in our society.
Yep. Now we see, FBI Director Christopher Wray. He came out and testified in front of Congress, and he said basically right now there are more red flags going off for potential danger, terrorist attacks, and whatnot for things here in America than there were before 9/11. Now that is a telling thing for the director of the FBI to say. They must be hearing this chatter. They must know it's coming. We see it's coming. People coming for a better life is one thing, but people, why do we have the Chinese coming, right? The military age young men coming here by themselves. We have people coming from Cuba, another communist dictatorship. They're coming here. Now, if people want to get out of there and they want to live in a better place, okay, that's good. But they don't normally let those people leave. Who are they letting out that they're sending here to us? And then people on the known terror watch list. Why do we even have a terror watch list if when we find somebody, we let them go into the country? Who knows what they're up to? So I think the advice I'm getting from you is that no matter how much time we have on the job or how nice our community is, we have to look and think about a couple of things. Number one, we have to now anticipate that what FBI Director Wray said, it's coming and we don't know when. So it's unpredictable. But now we can say, yes, we know it's going to happen. Is exactly where? We don't know. That means you have to be aware of everything around you. Pay attention. Look at things. Try and discern what you're seeing. When you talked about secondary devices, well, the Columbine school shooting was actually a bombing. Those killers, they created 120 pipe bombs, and they were throwing them around the school, and they were hoping that the big canister bombs would blow up, and the kids would run outside and they would shoot them. When the bomb didn't go off, that's when they did the shooting. But their cars in the parking lot, and they knew they were going to die that day. They weren't going back to their car. Their cars were booby-trapped for the first responders when they were doing their investigation. They know they'd come over to the cars. Oh, these are the bad guys' cars. Open it up, and the bombs would have went off there. So we see that. It's obvious, and we really do need everybody out there. Everybody, every day you go to work, You have to anticipate now you may come across this. I'm at the Jersey Shore, Doc, right? And we have beautiful communities here, and everything's wonderful. And then I think 2 or 3 years ago, there was a guy running around planting bombs, and he planted one in New York City. It blew up in a garbage can. And here in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, on Veterans Day parade, a bomb went off. Thank goodness nobody was killed, but people were injured. This was a guy who was captured because he was trying to kill people at a parade at the Jersey Shore, where you would never expect something like that to happen. So what I tell everybody, I have a saying. I like a lot of nice little sayings to keep us focused. I say all the time, you can't be paranoid. You can't live paranoid. You have to be aware and prepare, right? So that goes for anything in life. Be aware that there's danger there.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, be aware and prepare. Don't live paranoid. Be aware and prepare. So if you had a couple of closing comments for the men and women out there who have dedicated their lives to keeping us safe, the law enforcement personnel out there, what would you tell them, Doctor?
Well, I one of the first things I'd say in the time that we have, please get rid of the white shirts. That just makes you a target. Your troops, your officers, they know you're in charge. Take off the white shirt, put on a regular shirt. Overseas, we would grab the person, we'd rip it off of them and say, "What are you doing wearing a white shirt?"
You mean for the supervisors?
Yes,
normally wear a
yeah.
white shirt, right?
That's a target. That's a
Yeah.
target. And the other thing is, we traditionally here in the United States, we gather information and we're supposed to act on that information. But in the last few years, we gather information and we don't do anything with it. And unfortunately, that's our federal agencies. They're gathering up information, they're watching people constantly. And then when something happens, they go, "We had them under observation." Oh, guess what? Go out and put the arm on them, bring them in. I don't care what you bring them in for. If it's spitting on the sidewalk, you bring them in. You get them off the street where they hurt people. You have to bring them in. We have to tighten up. And the thing is, we are dumping so much pressure on our police. That's got to stop. We have to, we have to, we have to remember the anxiety and the frustration of an officer when they have to go out, when he or she has to go out and arrest the same person over and over and over again. That nonsense has to stop. And that is a fault. That is a fault and a disgrace of the judges and the DAs and the legal system for what they are doing. And that's another reason why Combat Stress Magazine, it does such a great job with anxiety and stress and those suicidal thoughts that people get in a random way that need critically to be addressed. Our brothers and sisters that take the oath these are the people that hold our country together. And these are the people that we have to encourage and stand by and just walk up to them on the street, frontal, please, don't go behind them, and say, "I am so proud of you and thank you for what you do. You mean everything to me." And that means a lot to them just hearing it, even though they're going to look at you and go, probably, "Yeah, right, sure, thanks." No, it's going to impact on them. And these are the people that are critical to our wonderful country. Yep. If we have any future.
Yep. I appreciate all that. So I'm going to tell everybody, go take a look at Combat Stress Magazine. Go take a look at it. I'll put the link in the description of the show and in the notes and all of that stuff. And also some things from Dr. Rail so you can read more, and the link to the article, The Black Swan. So listen, all of these things are important. Our world is changing. We do have a world that now sees your work, law enforcement work, as a problem. You're the problem because you want to hold people to account to keep people safe. And we all know that the only thing that keeps a community safe is proactive police work. Reactive police work, we just take reports about what happened to the victim.
Exactly.
Proactive work is what makes our community safe. And you see in New York now, the governor, where there's no problem. She's brought in the National Guard to go into New York City, and they want to bring back stop and frisk, which of course all these social agencies are going to go crazy because I guess they would rather see people get hurt than to have to stop somebody and say, hey, it looks like you're carrying a gun. Let me make sure you don't have a gun. Whatever it is, you be safe each and every day when you go out there. Open your eyes, open your ears, pay attention, use information that comes in correctly, and watch each other's back. Dr. Rail, thank you for being on. We'll get you on again because I know you have more stuff to talk about when it comes to how we can help our brother and sister officers out there. But go take a look at that magazine. Get my books from Blue360
Yes,
media.com,
yes.
right? And everybody have a great day out there. It's
Thank
a
you
great
very
day.
much.
You're very welcome, Doc. We'll see everybody down the road. Remember, be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem.